Alright, now it's time to find our way to the Botanical Garden. But before doing that, let's do some cleanup, since now we have a lot of gadgets that can help, shall we?
Word of warning. If anyone sees a dribbling fool barking at the moon, or maybe just burning like it.
Basically, this would be kind of like the bulk of most of the other run as well. Periodically, you will have parts dedicated just specifically to the cleanup, because if I dedicated the entirety of the Riddler trophy gathering for the post-game section, it would be way too long, too much at the end, and possibly, too much annoying. So let me just
Oh.
pace it properly.
And keep in mind, folks, this is just the first game. Like I have alluded to, City really ramped up the Riddler trophies. Although, to be fair, if you want to actually get the end of the Riddler arc, I think you just have to get a certain amount, at least, story-wise.
Okay, that is because of stuff regarding Catwoman's content. I will elaborate more when we get to City, but the idea is that you need a certain amount that were included in the base game, but Catwoman's presence put a couple of extra Riddler trophies that do amount to the total that you need. So you theoretically can use her as a crutch in order to get the amount that you need.
Right. Okay, so...
Again, you'll see in due time.
That thing with the cards earlier, did Joker or Harley lace the cards with poison or something, and that explains why they're all dead in their seats?
No, that was apparently because one thing that he does outside of carving, quote unquote, the mark, is he needs to pose some of his victims.
They do actually make him somewhat interesting in City, where they give us an interesting take on his origin, which actually tethers him to the Penguin. I won't spoil how, but it's interesting given what we see in later iterations. Since if I recall correctly, he's also a factor in the Gotham series, where he starts off as like a crime enforcer before he becomes, crazy serial killer guy, and I think he's also affiliated with the Penguin at some point in that series.
Remember.
I don't remember if we've done a commentary of it, but I've been curious about one of the DC animated films by the name of Superman versus the Elite.
Yes, we did a commentary of that, but it was quite a while ago.
I remember you and Pedro got faked out heavily by one of the twists in that movie. It was glorious. Why do you ask, Bibbs?
Well, since apparently we've seen it already, when am I seeing it again at some point?
Yeah, sure.
Definitely worth a generation's look.
I guess you're saying this because, one of the members of the Elite is British, and I mean heavily British.
Well, not quite, but apparently because it's meant to be like a parody of all those terrible comics that basically try and do the whole "what if Superman was evil" story.
To an extent,
but do it poorly.
Specifically, it was a reactionary type of story to those movements from the mid '90s onward, if I recall correctly, about superhero teams that were more cynical and more willing to kill because they believe that traditional superheroism was passé and a naive kind of way of thinking.
Is Zack Snyder secretly running it?
Well, that's the thing, Libs. It has been a current of way of thinking since the 80s to an extent, thanks to Frank Miller, people like Frank Miller. But to be fair, again, there was a genuine, well, particularly also in the British author community, because people like Alan Moore, and Dave Gibbons also, were thinking pretty much the same thing. It was just a thing. Oh, let me showcase this. Whenever you throw a remote control button in every game, what happens if you actually aimed it at Batman again? He just catches it. And in this first game, you will get a trophy for it.
Okay, remind me, Tio. I know that you're solving riddles also, but Remind me, do the riddles show up when you're actually close enough to the answer, or are there some that like you kind of have to travel distance and memorize what the riddle is?
I don't know exactly what you're talking about, but if you see the map, it just gives you a general indication of where they might be on the area, but they don't account for the z-axis. So that's I guess that's your question answered. But
To specify, like that, for example, that riddle that you got by viewing the question mark from the right angle. Does like the riddle pop up again when, like, say you're close to it in location?
No, it just is on the map. I don't know exactly what you're specifically talking about.
Never mind. Okay, what I'm asking is like if like there's a prompt for the riddle that pops up, you know, while you're close to location-wise.
No.
Like I know that they show up on the
No.
map. I was just trying to remember.
What happened? Okay, I think I get it. Let me try to answer. Whenever you're entering a new area, you might have noticed that you get one of those green text that is one of the riddle. Those are specifically about the things that you can scan, and it just selects one of them at random, but it tells you this thing is in the area, you can search around. After you've done all of them, it will not pop up anymore again, you know, cluing you in that all those specific types are done for this particular area. But again, as soon as you get the maps, they're all marked there anyway.
Alright, that's what I was thinking of.
Anyway, to continue, no, Dwaves, again, that was just the way of thinking for, you know, British comic writers, because that was also affected in stuff like the Transformers UK run, which was far more, you know, cynical and potentially disturbing compared to the American one that Marvel was having. It was just a thing that was happening, almost little cultural difference.
I remember I used to buy the Transformers Armada comics when I was younger, and it just suddenly stopped.
Yeah, because if I recall correctly, the publication like got cancelled, so they had to import instead the American ones. If I recall correctly, I don't remember the details.
But yeah, if I recall correctly, with a lot of the more cynical comic writing, notably coming from Britain, I think that's also part of why the Elite were all European-based characters, from what I recall.
Probably because of that, and particularly their leader, I keep forgetting his name, was the guy with the Union Jack literally tattooed on his chest, because, you know, you just need to understand where it comes from, clearly.
His name was Manchester Black.
What's his cousin named? Leeds White?
Yeah.
Anyway,
and now,
we're in the Botanical Garden, so new playground for you to actually have fun with.
Now, to their credit, the Elite did get a bit of a redemption when they joined Justice League Dark, essentially.
I mean,
so it wasn't like they were all one
deal
note.
With another British asshole, in that case, John Constantine, I guess.
Okay, this was one of the earlier iterations of Justice League Dark. I forget if Constantine was part of that one.
I'm pretty sure he
was. Got one of Pamela's tapes.
Yeah, the Poison Ivy tapes are exclusive for you. Basically, each area contains the tape specifically to one character. Again, in this case, it's Poison Ivy. Usually they're themed after the location where you're in. One in the overworld, quote unquote, the more basic playground of you know, the island are exclusive for the Joker, for example. So they're most likely the ones that you will get.
You had like 3 business days to shoot those guns, dudes.
We need to get ready, you know.
Okay.
But no, again, this is why you also got the comics like League of Extraordinary Gentlemen and V for Vendetta. That was just part of the culture of your country at the time. Particularly, I would recommend the original comic V for Vendetta. Me and Edgy have seen the movie again of the Wachowski's movie recently, and they did a good job. But as also noted by Dominic Noble, they really more impressed the American culture onto a British panorama rather than being a reflection of the British politics that Alan Moore was writing about when he wrote the original comic. It's a bit weird in how it's structured, but it was probably for the comprehension of general moviegoers. Needless to say, I wouldn't mind another adaptation.
So can someone tell Mark Millar that the old edgy British phase is over? Because he still seems to be living it.
It's more like reveling in it. Again, 90% of writing of Mark Millar really makes you ask the question, what are you even trying to say?
Hey, fun fact actually. You know how in the 90s we had stuff like the death of Superman and of course Nightfall for Batman essentially? Well, Mark Millar, and mind you, he claims he was joking back then, but Mark Millar had penned in this idea called, God help me, The Rape of Wonder Woman.
Oh no.
Thankfully, they did not go through with that, and instead what just happened was that Wonder Woman got fired. So, you know that era where Wonder Woman had, like, that black jacket and basically just wore a bra underneath there? Yeah, that was that time she was kind of fired, and a different Amazon, I think it was Athena,
Yeah, either
had
Artemis
taken
or
her
Athena.
place as Wonder
It's
Woman.
usually one of the two.
I still find it confusing that they have Amazons by those names, and those aren't actually the gods themselves. Since remember, the gods are a
Dragon
thing.
Ball logic. Anyway, let me showcase also this. The Sonic Batarang, the Sonic Batarang can be used to lure enemies, but you can also detonate to, because it resonates with the shock collar, to balance things out. You can only do this once per Predator section. So it's basically a get out of jail free card for one goon. If you're in a sticky situation, you can actually defeat one of them very easily with that. The explosion can only affect one mook at a time, so... it's kind of like, but again, Jova, it's kind of like with Dragon Ball, you know, with the planet Vegeta. We just name their royalty also like that. Sometimes, you know, cultures tend to name their people, you know, like something they worship just because it's like a set of iconic names.
Yeah, the problem was that I think, okay, mind you, I don't know if this was a thing with DC itself. I feel like there was at some point where some of the writers actually got confused and actually accidentally titled them as the actual goddesses themselves, but don't quote me on that. Also, apparently Wonder Woman has a bit of a track record of losing her title to, of all people, redheads, essentially, since technically Artemis was not the first redhead to challenge her and take up the title, apparently.
Well, as demonstrated plentifully by Geoff Johns, a lot of writers do not understand what the character Wonder Woman should be about. But anyway, what about instead the Mad Hatter? Another classic Golden Age villain, because again, back then they just wanted to have villains based around, you know, classic book properties. Was just, you know,
and once again, that is a design that looks completely different from how he actually will look when he shows up in the series.
Yep.
Oops.
Well, I mean, okay, for the most part, it's just the haircut that is very different.
I'd argue it's also even the size. Like, yeah, he still is kind of small in City, but I'd say he's at least more kind of like, you know, 5-footish. That portrait makes him look more 4-footish.
Fair enough.
You need to stop this now, before it goes too far.
Stop.
Yeah,
Batman,
I'm sure he's gonna listen to you.
To see what I do next.
Let him go now.
Really?
That is a poor choice
very
of
poor
words.
choice of words. Yes, The Dark Knight was released the year before this.
I'm actually surprised they didn't just have Joker say it.
Again, considering this game was in development cycle for like less than 2 years, so it started around the same time as 2008, they probably either did not have time or decided did not put it in, mostly because maybe they thought it wasn't, you know, they were not caught up with the more mimetic kind of lines.
Also, Batman, you had like 5 business days to hit Joker with a battering before he threw that guy into the water.
Like, seriously, you did the same. You did it with Victor Zsasz when he was holding Dr. Young.
Well, I mean, to be fair, if Joker had got hit, he could have just, like, accidentally dropped the guy.
Oh.
I mean, one could argue he'd be knocking him back, but okay. There's that, but then why didn't Batman hit Joker with a batarang after he threw the guy in? Like, before Joker blew up the way, he had ample time to grapple him with a hook at least, or, again, wallop him with a batarang. Remember the Waynes? Who could forget?
Yeah, Thomas and Marv, of course. Although, as you can see, they were being mentioned a few issues after Batman was introduced. They took their time to actually explain Bruce's backstory.
Yeah, that's the thing a lot of people don't always remember. Yes, Batman technically has an origin with his first one, but we only got to see his origin truly in full later on, which is...
As it was custom for the Golden Age, rather than giving you the full origin story, it was more instead a case where, the hero showed up preventing a crime to be committed in order to hook up with the story and for the reader, and then a few issues later they will explain properly what the deal with said hero's backstory was.
Mm-hmm.
The bat. I'm not scared of the bat. You see he go over there?
Hey guys, is that Batman right over there?
That was kind of what happened with the Dan Garrett Blue Beetle. Also,
he's here and his cape was clipping from my neck!
Ew, sick freak.
You're not one face.
Don't worry, I'll stop him.
But no, that's also kind of what happened with the Shadow, mostly because the Shadow was originally created as like a radio show host, but apparently the character proved to be so popular into basically doing the shtick that Dick Tracy had made popular, as in pulp hero, mostly associated with police work with a quirky type of rogues gallery, that they actually commit from an actual proper backstory to the character. Actually bothered to see the movie after the Lincoln review, the 90s movie, and yeah, it's actually a good time. Surprisingly, I actually completely missed it.
I just beat the bad guy like 2 seconds ago. Give me a chance.
Between movies like The Shadow, the Dick Tracy movie and whatnot, the 90s were a good time for resurgence of some old
also
classics.
For original stuff like Sam Raimi's Darkman. That one I bothered to see. I did see when I was a teenager anyway, so I had already experience with it. But again, anyone who hasn't seen it should see it because it's glorious. It's Sam Raimi, superhero stuff at its best. Like if you like the Spider-Man trilogy, you're definitely gonna love that.
And then there's also the 1996 Phantom film, which, I mean, I don't know if I'd call it good, but Lord help him, Billy Zane put in the effort for that one.
I remember
Pumped iron
seeing
and
a
everything
snippet
for
of it once in like 2002, so when I was an early teenager, so I don't remember almost anything of it. I will need to see it again. I know that the character is very popular in France. So.
I'll just say this, I guess Catherine Zeta-Jones had a thing for masked superheroes in the 90s between this and Zorro.
Yeah, speaking of, recently I came across an announcement. Like, I don't know if you guys have heard of a film called The Guyver.
Only by name.
That sounds
it was based on a series.
Well, its sequel is finally getting a proper Blu-ray release later this year, cleared up in 4K and everything. Because up till now, us Brits could only watch the DVD with its PAL speed up, but now later this year we finally get to see David Hayter as a Power Ranger in HD.
Sure, why not? Alright,
interesting.
Let's use the back door in order to follow where Joker went.
My Joker's really getting stoked for his victory, it seems.
Mm-hmm. Especially also because this vent contains something that I kind of wish was in one of these games before the VR1. The minor C-tier list villain Ratcatcher. You remember, Dreams, this is the character that Taika Waititi plays in The Suicide Squad. His stick is that he can control rats. But this series doesn't particularly like him, unfortunately.
What series does? Doesn't he kind of also get, killed off early in the Suicide Squad?
No, actually. Remember, Ratcatcher II is his daughter, and she's actually instrumental for defeating Starro.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, but didn't like the original Ratcatcher
No, it's just,
die in...
I don't know if he died, I don't remember, but he only shows up in a flashback talking to his daughter while they were still in Portugal.
Maybe I'm misremembering because, you know, The Suicide Squad,
No,
great movie,
the-
but it does fall into a lot of
I hate
James
it.
Gunn's traps. And
I hate these rooms so much. Not as much as the caves near the sewer system, but navigating through this particular room is kind of a pain in the ass because you need... Okay, getting to the exit is straightforward, but having to get all the collectibles in this room requires you to do some precise jumping that is kind of annoying. And as Batman showcases, you cannot really use the grappling hook because these stones are not particularly sturdy for you to be held on that. Yep.
Another mutation.
Joker's
making these monsters. He hasn't perfected the formula
no,
yet.
here's the thing, Jova. The Suicide Squad has this thing where it kills a bunch of characters near the beginning to recreate Slipknot's death, at the beginning of the first Suicide Squad, and for a couple of those I'm okay. Others not so much, mostly because of characters that I was interested in. But the one that baffles me the most, again, spoiler if you haven't seen the movie. Yes, I know it's not super, super old, but just to mention, Mongal. Why I say that? Because their species is supposed to be, technically speaking, on the same power level of Kryptonians. The fact that she gets killed in an helicopter crash is bullshit.
And also, I feel like, again, James Gunn, I think, is an overall good creator, but I feel like sometimes he does stuff for the lulz a little too much. Like, Polka Dot Man got done dirty.
I mean, he's also instrumental to defeat Star, I don't know what you're talking about.
It's that his death comes so needlessly sudden, and it feels like it's played more as a bout of laughs despite him surviving so long into the film.
Again, I guess we'll have to wait until we get to actually the movie. In the meantime, let's move on.
So yeah, Joker's conducting a few more tests, and we've seen a few of the results drop in on us.
We also heard Mark Hamill just stringing up a bunch of, improv singing, if you pay attention.
Stop! I told you what you wanted to know. You got everyone. Please, you can let me go.
And you promise you won't tell anyone about Joker's plan? Well, okay then. Help this guy to his feet. Then shoot him in the face.
My pleasure.
Well, damn.
Wait, but you said...
What? Did you think we just let
you
walk out of here?
We are bad guys, you know.
Yeah.
I'm gonna kick you a bit more. Then when you pass out, I'll drag you back in there and throw you down the hall. Let all your friends watch.
That sounds like John DiMaggio.
I don't think he's creating these. Most of the ghouls tend to have the same VAs, but I don't remember. Again, a lot of them are Steve Blum, because, of course, he has to voice a fuck ton of NPCs in this.
I legit wonder if he gets a kick out of just voice acting in general, which, you know what? Respect if he does.
I really hope that he gets at least like a small cameo in the Insomniac Wolverine game, because again, to me, he is de facto, major VA ideal for Wolverine. Again, I know that the 90s animated series has obtained a resurgence out of that, and I'm perfectly fine with that, but I just prefer Steve Blum.
I agree. And, mind you, I also can kind of get it. I don't feel like he should have a complete monopoly over the character, but I feel like he's like what Kevin Conroy was for Batman. He's just that de facto voice that I hear whenever I read Wolverine in the comics, and I feel like he's...
Nor for Deadpool. Neil Patrick Harris did a fine job for the VR game, but I'm actually glad that Tokon managed to get back, Nolan North for the role, or as Deadpool himself labels him, as Daddy.
I'll give him credit. Also, Will Friedle did a good job as Deadpool in the Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon.
There was also that Das Bullshit video done for Team 4-Star, where Xander Mobus voiced him.
Oh, I haven't heard that one. How was Xander Mobus' take on the character?
Fine, perfectly fine. He's another one, Humpty Dumpty. If I recall correctly, this guy was in The Batman. Or either that or Beware the Batman, one of the two. I know that Beware the Batman, I mentioned it, a few parts ago, tended to tried to revolutionize itself in trying to use a bunch of not immediately recognizable Batman villains in order to distance themselves from the more classic, like Joker and the Penguin. But what they did was just weird, like their take on anarchy.
Also, I see you found the marking of the Mad Dog there.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Again, supposedly
yeah.
the villain that tortured the beloved ones of Amadeus Arkham. Alright, this one is, this federal section is also unique.
Listen, the bat is on the way. If you see him, send the annoying doctors to hell. That's the Dow, right?
Okay, Joker, did Underworld Unleashed happen in this continuity? You should know in case.
If you hear a collar go off, Batman's here.
Joker's men are all wearing
So,
security
in this
clearance.
case, you
I'll
need to make
take out
sure
the
to
operator
not
first.
take down anyone before the main guy up there in the control room. So, in true Shadow the Hedgehog fashion, we need to find the computer room first. Mostly because otherwise, if they spot you, they will immediately kill the hostages. And remember, every one of you goons has the the suicide collar on them. So if you actually knock out one of them, the others will actually recognize that and immediately pull the lever. So thankfully, there is a decent enough recognizable road that you can follow in order to get there. But you need to potentially study this room better in order to properly find the correct way. For example, in this case, it's probably best if you just, I think I'm about to showcase, get on the edge and then move from there. Either that or try to bypass the guard.
Yeah, it's something of a first-time player trap. Well, maybe not. Okay, trap might not be the right word since they do warn you in on this that you need to take the first
And
one
you're
out.
well advanced into the game at this point.
Yeah. Like, I think the only thing it might provide is a little frustration, but trust me, this is perfectly doable. And, once you're a whiz at the Arkham series, this will be just, well, another day for you, essentially.
I'm Batman and I can clip through bushes.
It's all part of protocol number 51 that I came up for, just in case of an Arkham breakout.
Yeah, whenever I come into contact with bushes or leaves or twigs, my secret bat technology in my clothes can phase through them.
There you go.
I left it at just that because if I did it for anything else, I would just fall through the floor forever.
So you
Alright.
Oh shit. Yeah, I probably should have moved from this place, but hey, what can you do? Showbiz, baby, so let's improvise.
He'll be fine.
Yeah, Batman cannot fall down bottomless pits, so usually you need to have the grappling point.
I like how both in and out of Scarecrow's nightmare, if he falls, he just simply climbs back out easy and enough.
It would have been funny if I'm like, hey, I know I'm fighting all of you, but can you just let me listen to these interview tapes?
Please.
Yes, it is absolutely funny if you're listening to them while you're beating the mess out of criminals.
I mean, to be fair, it is perfectly in character for Batman in a sense that he's gathering information, just as, he's performing an action, so he's basically multitasking to get ready.
But yeah, I do like how Joker posits it as a puzzle he was putting together. Part of me wonders if it was legit a puzzle, or another one was legit him expecting Batman to get stumped by that.
All it reminds me was that stupid event that they have with the War of Jokes and Riddles, where they had a fun I mean, on concept, it's not too bad, but when you start thinking about it for more than 5 minutes, you realize that it couldn't have worked on the long run.
like, on the one hand, I get it. The Joker is a random fellow, so he's going to act on whims like that, but... And you know, to give it credit, like Linkara's pointed out, it did actually do a good job with Kite Man of all characters, but... Yeah, I'll admit, aside from that, it feels like something we didn't necessarily need.
It's one of those casual potential stroke of geniuses, like making the calculator suddenly a bigger threat with the rise of the internet. Oh, here's another DD's villain, Killer Moth. Early Silver Age villain.
Killer Moth, a character who constantly seesaws between goofy joke villain to actually credible threat, depending on how writers want to handle him.
Mm-hmm.
He is actually... Okay, I'll admit. As a kid, I was more familiar with him thanks to the Teen Titans cartoon, where he actually is a legitimate threat. So, imagine my shock when I found out, no, he's actually more of a joke villain.
Oh, in case you're wondering, because we got already one of these, this particular, control station have these gas canisters. If you take too much of your time, they will start spraying gas and Batman will actually die. So that's basically your challenge. Try to still, overload them in the fastest that you can, as fast as you can.
I love how wonky some of Batman's death screams in these games are. It's almost like they're like, wait, you died as Batman? Shoot, what would he even sound like?
For what I understand, that was an aspect that they actually dropped in the sequels.
Well, look who's discovered our secret lab. Since you've made it...
Of course, it's in a secret platform behind a wall, too.
And yeah, Joker managed to build a syringe pistol in the meantime that shoots Titan guards. So what's actually, worse than one Titan gun? Two at the same time!
And it seems that these ones actually are perfected.
And again, to be fair, this was all we mentioned about how these boss fights are, kind of the same enemy repeated over and over for the most part. That was unfortunately a trend of licensed video games at the time in general. Recall about the 4 God of Thunder video game that we commented upon, that just mostly had the same type of bulky enemies, just divided for one of the different realms, boss giant. Or, Jotunheim, for example.
The big frustration is that this game does so much...
to God of War 3, once you actually knock down these enemies, you can actually ride them to inflict damage to the others around.
Crash of the Titans, eat your heart out. But yeah, the big frustration with bosses being so samey in this game is that it does almost everything else so pristine and well that, well, people were baffled that they got the bosses so wrong. And again, like I've mentioned, they got them right in City just to get them wrong again in Night.
Honestly, I need to remember when was the last time a traditional beat 'em up did manage to have, good boss fight to begin, unfortunately. That usually is one of the curses of the genre.
Depends.
Like, I think of something like, for example, Altered Beast, but the only reason why they managed to make the boss fight work is because they kinda fit the genre most of the time, and by the time you get there, they usually, for example, turn it into a shooter by having, the Centurion transformation shoot projectiles of some kind. Like, you think of something like the Streets of Rage, for example, and unfortunately the boss fights in that franchise tends to be mostly just enemies that are more spongy. So...
Go figure. I think also it's kind of annoying from a story point since, like, okay, these are apparently perfected Titans. They pretty much operate the same way the defective one did.
Again, the idea is that they don't get randomly heart attack like the Animator, in Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Which, hey, that's cool, but oh wait, we had the Bane boss fight for that now, didn't we?
Well, these ones do not regenerate health, like it is.
Fair enough. Though you do realize how silly it is we have to get down to the technicalities.
I mean, ask a question and get an answer.
Fair enough. I can definitely see them trying to give more varied bosses if this ever got a remake.
Or at the very least alter them in a specific way, potentially.
Oracle. I destroyed the Titan production.
So,
facility.
seriously enough, after
Joker
this boss fight,
escaped
you were
without
supposed to
causing
actually
real
spray
problems.
the explosive gel in the container, but if you did like me,
They've been
you can
using a
actually
venom
lure the
plant
Titan
hybrid
goons
to
into
create the
destroying
Titan
them in the
strain.
middle of a fight.
The plant's the key. And there's only one
Very
person
nice.
on Arkham Island who can help us.
And what makes you think Poison Ivy will help you?
So
If the
we
plants are
need
at
to
risk,
get to
she'll
Poison
listen.
Ivy, of
I have a
course.
sample of her pheromone
I'm
signature
sure
on
it'll
her.
be just fine
She'll
so
be
long
somewhere
as
in the
we ask her
gardens.
nicely.
Track
Okay, Uma Furman, could you maybe look into your heart and stop hating humans for a quick second to help us?
What if I send her to, I forgot, what was the name of the stupid
need something to
facility
get
in
over this
Heroes in
ravine.
Crisis, what it was called, like...
Oh, God, shoot.
Sanctuary.
I think it
Yeah.
was
What if
Sanctuary.
what if I told her about Sanctuary? That sure is gonna fix her.
Yeah, it'll, well, it technically fixed her in the worst ways possible. Also, hey, there's the Batwing.
Yes, because finally we're about to get the, well, not last, but one of the last major gadgets that Batman just ordered for the case.
I love that design for the Batwing. Yeah, I'm sure your jet engines
go.
aren't deafening your ears in the background there.
He's Batman. Alright, remember that part in the 1989 movie where Batman managed to grab Vicky Vale and move very quickly using a gadget that shoot out a rope? Let's do that!
Mm-hmm.
Also, I came with the bisexual filter for this action. There you go. You need a point of origin and connection in order to shoot this thing, but as you can see, it allows good traversal. And of course, this is required to get a lot of these, of the collectibles.
You know, as much as I love the line launcher, and I'm glad we get it earlier in the next game, I find it funny how Batman brings the Batwing and doesn't think to maybe just grapple onto the Batwing and fly out.
Not even that. Well, to be fair, he needs to still be in the location to track Poison Ivy. Like, he doesn't even use it to track down the position of the Joker.
Look. It's like I said, I get that this is a game. We don't want to dance so quickly, but man, this game kind of makes Batman look a bit like a fool just to prolong some things.
It's plot contrivance for the sake of having conflict and not having things resolved immediately. Like, I get it, but it really exposes the fact that, you know, the writing wanted to be for the story first, but then they needed to build the video game around it, you know, because video games are
Definitely,
about, again, despite what a lot of, you know, gaming journalists, you know, websites and a lot of publishers these days would like you to tell otherwise, games are supposed to be about a challenge.
Mm-hmm. It's like, and don't get me wrong, Paul Dini is, you know, his writing skills do show definitely with the character dialogue and a lot of the story, but I can definitely feel his hands just being tied by the fact that this is a video game.
I mean, as I mentioned about development, he had wrote a lot more lines just for the Joker himself, so who knows, like, how much the story was, how much different the story was originally.
It really does make you think.
Alright, in the next part, we talk, hopefully, with Poison Ivy and see what we can do in order to synthesize the antidote. See ya.
See you then.
See ya.